with us today. So we are the Center for Spiritual Living Los Angeles. We're a metaphysical New Thought community that teaches and practices primarily the teachings of the science of mind. You'll hear more about that today. We come together every Sunday morning in person in this room at 10 a.m. to commune together, to commune in a way where we acknowledge that the power of the divine exists within each and every one of us equally and among all of us, and that that's a spiritual truth whether we choose to know it or not. However, by choosing to know it, we both magnify and expand that through our thinking and our beliefs and our actions and our reactions and our interactions in life. So welcome. We're happy to have you here today. Also would like to give a huge shout out to those that are watching us online. We are live streaming the cameras above the house and the shell and the bee on the wall up there. So, and I really appreciate that you guys wave, and yet they can't see any of you. They only get to see moi and the musicians. I just realized, of course you didn't wave. It's in Pete's rider, no waving. That's our Pete. So we're happy to have you here today as we come together in a setting where you'll hear some non-traditional terminology relative to spirit, if you will, certainly non-traditional Christian terminology. We refer to God as the indwelling presence that exists equally among all across the universe. You'll hear in my message this morning how to use it being the power of God that exists among all of us. And we do everything that we can as an entity, as in a community, to support each and every individual, fulfilling the vision statement of our community, which is this: supporting individuals finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. So if this is your first time here, we welcome you. And as our beloved founding minister used to say, we welcome one and welcome all. So welcome. We open our service every Sunday morning with a ritual. As you can sense, we like to get a little rowdy on the front end of our service. Sometimes we get a little rowdy in the middle and the end. And so prior to the rowdiness, we like to anchor ourselves into the awareness and acceptance of the oneness of life itself. And we do that through a ritual called Calling in the Light. We have our practitioner of the day that guides us through that process, and we have someone that is called the illuminator that lights up our candles to acknowledge the qualities of the divine. And you, as a participant in that ritual, get to both take in what's being said as well as sing along to a call and response song called Calling in the Light. So I'd like to welcome our musicians to the bema. Our practitioner of the day is our assistant minister here, Reverend Edward Brown. He's coming forward. And our illuminator is one of our staff members, Reverend Lenore Edney. Please take a moment and take this in. And I invite you, when you get to the part of the healing candle, to hold someone dear in your life in mind, as well as we'd like to hold our beloved Jack today in mind, Jim's partner of many, many years, who's working through some healing. So let's do that. Sorry.
The ritual we performed this morning is called Calling in the Light. Today, we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of light that acknowledge all people everywhere and everything, knowing that we all come from the one which we call spirit. The purpose of this ritual is to draw into our gathering this morning a conscious awareness of our oneness and the qualities we possess as complete expressions of the divine. As Reverend Lenore lights the first candle is lit for the quality of peace. In this way, we honor our inherent divine state of inner peace, inner calm, regarding whatever chaos is happening in our life, we can affirm peace, the perfect peace of God. The second candle, as Reverend Lenore writes, is called the power. It is for power. The power we acknowledge as the energy by which everything exists. We say lots of times there's only one power, and that power is God. And we acknowledge that power by lighting the second candle. The third candle is lit for beauty, a personal expression by which high spiritual qualities are made manifest. I can truly say in this moment that each of you are beauty in expression. The fourth candle is lit for joy, that state of being that exists by the expectancy and the experience of good. As Reverend Lenore likes the fifth candle, it is for light, the symbol of divine intelligence. We are the light of the world. And as we are the light of the world, we are the most intelligent beings of this world. So the fifth candle is for light. The sixth candle is for life, that which we define as the animating principle of being, that inner something that makes everything live, makes everything come alive within us. The seventh candle is lit for the quality of love, defined as the self-givingness of spirit, the desire of life to express itself by giving of itself. We are each love in action as us. The eighth candle is lit for wisdom. The concept of unity is the mystical secret of the ages and the key to wisdom. That wisdom that we possess that is far greater than anything that we know. The ninth candle is lit for healing. And at this moment, take someone that you know or some situation into mind that you think need to manifest the healing. And bring that person to that light, to the center, knowing that that person is healed this moment.
I am love.
I am love.
I am peace.
I am peace.
In my heart.
In my heart.
I am free.
I am free.
I am spirit.
I am spirit.
I am soul.
I am soul.
All together.
All together.
We are whole.
We are whole. Calling in the light. Calling in the light. Calling in the light of love. Calling in the light. Calling in the light. Calling in the light of love.
And so it is. And so it is.
So it is.
And so it is.
In this moment, I would like for you to join with me in a spiritual mind treatment of knowing that there is only one life, one power, one presence, God. God expresses in, through, and by means of each and every one of us. For we are an individualization of the one, expressing at our level of awareness of the presence, of the power, of the life, of the love, of the joy the beauty of God. We move forward this morning knowing that all is well. All is well and life is good. We now speak our word for truth, knowing that a healing is taking place this moment. And as we draw into our consciousness our beloved Jack, we can speak the word knowing that Jack is healed. Jack is perfect. And we speak our word for Jim also, to give him strength to go through this situation with Jack, knowing that a healing is taking place for those two. We speak our word for every individual here today, knowing that healing is manifest. We joyously give thanks for this idea that we call the Los Angeles Center for Spiritual Living, knowing that it is a beacon light in the city of West Hollywood. And this light shines, shines, shines. For we are that light, and we are shining forth this moment. We give thanks for our minister, knowing that he is sure by right of his own consciousness, and we appreciate that consciousness of awareness. We give thanks for the staff ministers, the practitioners, and above all, we give thanks for our musicians, knowing that they are sharing their talent, and we accept that idea, and we accept their talent, for it gives us life, love, and joy. This is the truth that we know. We joyously give thanks for this treatment, knowing it is done this moment. And together we say, and so it is.
Hands or something. Thank you, Reverend Edward. Beautiful. Doesn't Reverend Edward have a way with words? So beautiful. Beautiful, yes. I don't know if you all noticed that as you were calling in the light, the sunshine was illuminating Reverend Lenore and was moving during that time, which I think is a great metaphor. Also to let you know, we speak oftentimes of, and I'm going to speak today about the interconnectedness of humanity and of spirit. And oftentimes I will say we, forget the far-reaching effects that we have as a spiritual community and the possibilities for that. And just as we were going through that ritual, I had us live on Facebook, one of the wonderful aspects of modern day technology. You can curse it regarding other things if you like, but we had people joining the live stream from Canada, from Georgia, from Colorado, and from all over California, and several people were affirming they were receiving that spiritual mind treatment as he was saying it. So I think it's something you all should know, that is one of the advantages of technology, and it also is an example to us of how we all are interconnected, even when we oftentimes forget that. True? True. So one of the ways that we know that we're connected to spirit is through the beautiful way that this lovely lady expresses herself through music. You were a co-music director here for about 9 months, 6 months, something like that, and we always just love having Janice here. She just brings every fiber of her being when she comes and sings and sets herself free, and especially backed up by these three wonderful, handsome gentlemen. So I welcome to the Bema Janice Anderson.
What a wonderful introduction, and thank you for letting me just bring my being here. I need it. There's a light that shines on all people, sees them through. It waits and watches them move through their lives
Janice Anderson, Andy Belling, Pete Orlansky, and Gaia Zule. Beautiful. What's the title of that song? There's a light.
There's a light. Michael McDonald, Doobie Brothers.
I know Michael McDonald and the Doobie Brothers, yes.
It feels like it's a theme song for this place.
Yeah, did you hear that? She said it feels like it's a theme song for this place. So cool. Great. So I want to open this morning with a quote, Mr. Goodman. And the quote that I have this morning is this, and many of you are familiar with something similar to it. Vision without execution is just hallucination. Now, people attribute this particular quote to everyone from Edison to Einstein. It's even been tracked back to a Japanese proverb. And the Japanese proverb is this: vision without action is a daydream. Action without vision is a nightmare. Now, no matter who said it first, it makes a good point. Would you not agree? That we need to have a creative vision in our life to make change in the world. When I speak of the world, I'm not speaking specifically and solely of external circumstances. Yes, that is oftentimes the ultimate objective, but what I'm speaking of is changing the interior world, the inner world, that where our consciousness is, and then knowing that in so doing, the natural law of life will follow suit and produce a manifestation or experience or an event that reflects the consciousness that has been developed and or healed and or revealed. But vision alone is not enough. We also need execution to make that change real. Now, my favorite version of this quote is from Ernest Holmes, who is the founder of the Teaching of the Science of Mind, which is the primary text that we use in this metaphysical teaching here. And this is what Ernie wrote. He wrote, now the students in class will know this because you hear it a lot. Information without application is hallucination. Think about that in your own life. Where in your life right now do you think that you are using the information that you've learned over the years in this teaching, and yet the physical aspects of your world show that that's not true? So an example of that for me would be that I only eat healthy, that I'm at my optimum fighting weight, and that my waist is small, right? So that would be information that I know that if you eat well, which I think I'm doing, don't drink, which I think I'm doing, right? And exercise, which I think I'm doing, right? Is really just hallucination. Now you get it? Now obviously there was a bit of self-deprecation in that moment, and I know as a result of that you'll be kind and considerate and tell me how good looking I am. However, but I used that example this morning because, which was really quite off the cuff and pretty good, quite fly, I do think, is because what I'm speaking of this morning is the 4th chapter of the 4 foundational chapters of the teachings of the book, The Science of Mind, which is how to use it. The thing itself was the 1st chapter, the thing itself being that omniscient power of God that exists equally among all of us. It's there. There's nothing that we can do to pretend like it ain't, because it is. But then to move beyond that and to find out what it does. Well, what does it do? Well, first off, it animates everything that exists, including us. It exists everywhere in the universe. It's there. It is there within us, and we get to both experience and express it by means of our mind. That's how it works. It's omnipresent. It's infinite by nature. Well, how does it work? It works in the only way that it can, which is through us and responding to us by corresponding to that which we place upon it. It is also governed in our world through spiritual law. And spiritual, oftentimes, if you're new to this philosophy or this teaching, you'll say, well, what are spiritual laws? Well, spiritual laws are akin to physical laws. They're laws, it's a way of understanding the way life works. We know that gravity works, correct? How do you know that gravity works at this moment? You're not floating, and your butt's not on the floor, right? Gravity's holding it in that chair as it's holding the chair to the ground. Well, spiritual laws work in the same way, in that the nature of life is that we live in a world that our thought becomes form. That's a spiritual law. That we live in a world that we're attracting back to us that is equal to the sum total of our consciousness at all times. And that oftentimes we get confused by that because we think we're aware of what's in the sum total of our consciousness. But that is an impossibility because of consciousness being so vast. There's no way to tap into that. And yet, we do know to some degree what's in our consciousness because we get to look at the outpicturing of it in our life as life experiences. Does that make sense? Good. So now we're moving to how to use it, this power. Well, I'm going to begin by reading what Ernest wrote about this that's in the textbook. And it's a bit dense, but I want to read it to frame for all of us this last chapter and these 4 vital pieces. And this is what he writes. One of the great difficulties in the new order of thought is that we are likely to indulge in too much theory and too little practice. As a matter of fact, we only know as much as we can prove by actual demonstration. That which we cannot prove may or may not be true, but that which we can prove certainly must be and is the truth. Now, I know for all of you in here today that somewhere along the journey of your life you've manifested or demonstrated something that was a dream or a goal or a desire. You've also probably manifested something in your life that you feared would come true. But we each have an example of how to prove through us an actual demonstration of this thing and how to use it and the way it works. Ernie goes on to write, of course, the theory of any scientific principle goes beyond its application at any given stage of its accomplishments. That's what we call evolution, if you will. He goes on to write, if this were not true, there would be no progress in any science. Now, we know that there's been progress in science in and of itself. We know that there's been progress in mental science. That's what we're talking about here today. And we also know that there's been progress in our own individualized aspect of expressing this teaching and this philosophy, correct? So for all of us, we're all on a journey of our personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. We may not like where we are on it, but we are on it, whether we like that or not. The good news is we can change it if we don't like it. So what he goes on to write is the sciences are objectively real to us only insofar as we demonstrate them, and until demonstrated, they are suppositional, so far as practical results are concerned. If there is any field of research where the practical application is necessary, it is the metaphysical field. The reason being that the principle of metaphysics seems less tangible to the average person than does the principle of other sciences. Now, was there anyone in the room that came into this teaching and you thought, this makes absolute sense to me, and yet at the same time, this seems absolutely crazy? Well, of course, because one thinks, how on earth can I prove that that which I hold in consciousness will show up in form in my life? And the only way that we can know that is when we experience that in form that we held in thought or belief at some point. We go, aha, it works, right? But it's no more tangible than our belief in it or our experience in it. Ernie goes on to write, as a matter of fact, all principles in life are tangible, but the world at large has not yet to come to consider the principle of mental practice in the same light that it considers other given principles of life and of action. Now, certainly that was true when this was published in 1926. However, almost 100 years later, it's proven that there's great light in the healing field today, certainly in the mental healing field, if not the physical healing field, that our mind has power, and that there is an invisible force out there and a law of life that brings that from concept into tangibility. Would you guys agree with that? We know that, and there's studies, and I've talked about them from this podium time and time and time again, whereby prayer in and of itself is a healing practice. In class this week, we were breaking down the different stages of prayer, the different methods of prayer, and the concept of prayer, and even looking at whether you like or dislike the word prayer. I hated it for a long time, and I'm a minister, all right? But it was because of my history with what that word represented at the time, and yet I awoke to a new idea, a new perspective, a new thought, if you would, in regard to the action of prayer. I talk about this morning because we know today, in the 21st century, that we have the power to heal in life. We have the power to co-create the life that we want, and it is proven. If you don't believe me, Google it. It's out there. But Ernie goes on to write then, in this chapter, he goes to speak of the newly awakened student of the science of mind. And I'm going to paraphrase it. So there's someone that comes into this teaching, may have been you, may have been me. You learn that you can control your thinking, and your thinking changes your beliefs, and your beliefs show up in your life, and all of a sudden you have this experience. It's the one big experience that every single body has at one point. You know what it is? The perfect parking space. It happens, right? You have that and you go, by Jove, I think it works, right? And unfortunately, then you create Doris Day parking in your life, and then you never grow from there, right? However, you go to a party that Friday night and that Saturday night and that Sunday night, having manifested the perfect parking space for the party, and go in and proceed to tell every single person at the party that you have found the most famous teaching in the world. It's got the most impact over every religion in the world, and you have power to create in your life. And if you don't believe it, look outside and see where I parked my car. And Ernie says, that's fabulous, and you need to shut up. Because what he's talking about there is that in that moment, what you have is information without the vastness of the application. And in so doing, you're hallucinating that you are using your power in life to the greatest possibility ever. Because what we know, and once we get into that moment, is that the parking space is fabulous, and yes, you should manifest it. And yes, if that's important to you, you should manifest it. But the way to really put that in perspective, if you want to step into the abundance of the universe, which is what is ours to do by nature, is to manifest a prepaid limousine with a prepaid driver, that it matters not where you're parking, because someone's taking care of all of that as you sashay into the party in a new outfit, that you're actually hosting the party, and everything is paid for by everyone. Now that's a little bit different application of the information. Would you agree? All of you, would you agree? Yes. Now that may not be your desire in life, but that's an example that it's important for us to really continually be expanding what the information part is in our life. What is it that we believe this power to be? What is it that we believe our role is in playing with it, and what it is that we believe that it can manifest through us as a law? That's our role in this process. And then the application is to do it, to use it, to play with it, to experience it, to express it, and to constantly be moving within and as it is moving in and as through all of us, so that when we experience life itself, there is no hallucinatory qualities. They're like, we know that when it shows up, it must show up because we've done the work. In other words, what we need to do is step into, and I rarely use that word need, but we're talking about how to use it in the most effective way possible in our life, is to focus on living a life that is reflective of our divine nature, which we spoke of in these qualities. It's what's known as the pathway of joy. That's what we're talking about here. It's important for us to know that the path of joy and of following your joy is experiencing your abundance, and know that it's guided by the spiritual laws of life, primarily the spiritual law of least effort. To know that nature's intelligence, which is that which lies within us, functions through us with effortless ease, and that nature provides wonderful examples for us of spontaneous creation. To know, as I've said before from here, to look at a rose. A rose doesn't struggle to bloom. It simply unfolds in beauty and in grace. Birds don't make heroic efforts to fly. They just fly. It's the nature of the sun to shine, as we saw on Lenore as she was lighting these candles a moment ago. And it's the nature of the stars to sparkle, and it's human nature for our dreams and desires to be made manifest in physical form. It's important for us to know that if we choose to effectively use the principles of this teaching in the science of mind, is that every single person, including ourselves, is on their journey of finding their personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening. Therefore, if we walk into a party, let's honor them on their journey and not try to convince them to learn how to manifest a parking space. The key to this journey for each and every individual, as we choose to use it effectively, is one of enlightenment, of empowerment, of awakening. And it's important for each of us to assess only where we are on that journey, to not get in anybody else's business on their journey of life itself. As my first teacher used to say, the most effective way to use this teaching is to pretend like that there are not 10 commandments, but just one. And it's this: mind your own business. And what that means is that stay on your path during your self-awakening in life. It doesn't mean that we can't have compassion for others, but tend to yourself as you're awakening, which is what Ernie is talking about when you get into this teaching. There's no need to go out espousing to others what you've accomplished in life. Stay on your path, and the laws of life will bring back to you an experience or experiences in life that reflects your sense of self with an uppercase. Well, the question I have for you to ask yourself this morning is, how enlightened are you to do a self-inventory in this moment? And I have some questions for you. If you can live without caffeine, if you can be cheerful, ignoring aches and pains, if you can resist complaining, if you can understand when your loved ones are too busy to give you any time, if you can take criticism and blame without resentment, if you can ignore a friend's limited education and never correct them, if you can resist treating a rich friend better than a poor friend, if you can face the world without lies and deceit, if you can conquer tension without medical help, if you can relax without booze and liquor, if you can sleep without the aid of drugs, and if you can honestly say that deep in your heart you have no prejudice against creed, color, religion, gender preference, or politics, then you're on your way to enlightenment, and you've almost reached the same level of spiritual development as your dog. That's all I get for that? What we're being told in that moment is that if you look at our pets, is that, and cats maybe not so true because they can cop a tood, right? But if you look at your dogs, they love unconditionally, right? They greet you without any hesitation. And certainly we know that dogs have memories, as do elephants, if you will. But what this is telling us is that our goal in life is to let go of those things that I called out. Maybe not the caffeine, maybe not the booze, maybe not the sleeping pills, but the rest, yes, right? It's to remember that at all times on this journey of self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening, that it's not just how to use it, but to know that you are using it, that you're always using it. And so the question is not how to use it, but how are you using it? Are you living from a place of choosing to be angry with the world itself? Are you choosing to be angry with yourself? Are you living from a place of not issuing forgiveness in the blink of an eye? Are you choosing to think that life has served you a bad experience and there's no way to transcend or rise above that? Are you choosing to think that your better days are behind you and not in front of you? The key to all of it is what are you choosing? As Gary Zukav tells us, choice is the engine of evolution. If you choose, you have the opportunity to choose consciously or unconsciously. Choosing consciously is far better than unconsciously, he says. Been there, done that. He goes on to write, choice is the greatest gift we've been given, second only to the gift of life itself. What's important for you and I to know as we move about this journey in life is that healing is always taking place. Healing, as Ernest Holmes defines it, is revealing. Revealing that which is going on in your consciousness. The sum total of the subconscious and your conscious mind. And since we cannot make action in our subconscious mind unless we're going into some really deep place with some people that are really, really trained, we know that we can tend to that which is going on in our conscious mind. And to know that the journey of personal self-empowerment through a spiritual awakening may look really, really, really pretty some days, and others it may not. But you're still on the journey of awakening. Iwajama Yumi Benayu, not sure if I said it correct, but that's how I phonetically read it, says this: healing comes in waves, and maybe today the wave hit the rocks. And that's okay, darling. You're still healing. You're still healing. I'm here today to be a gentle reminder to you to be conscious of how you're choosing to live your life. Every moment, every thought, every action, every reaction, and every interaction in life. And if you find yourself out of alignment with your divine qualities of peace, power, beauty, joy, light, life, love, and wisdom, then stop. Take a deep breath and think anew. Choose anew. This week in class, our students have a homework assignment, and I read to them this Bible quote that really spoke to me this week, and I want it to speak to you and give you the opportunity to really think about how these words mean something to you if you're holding on any vestige of an old idea. But let it be a mantra for how to go through life itself and how to use it effectively in your life. And it's from Thessalonians 5:16, and it's this: rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Now, if the G word and the C word and the J word freak you out, don't let it do that. Let's look at it from a different perspective metaphysically. Rejoice always. In other words, praise life itself. Pray continually. In other words, consciously create a practice in your life that you are turning to that power that is greater than you are but exists equally within you, to invoke through you, to express through you a greater expression of who you are than previously had taken place. And then give thanks for every single thing. Why? Because gratitude, like forgiveness, is one of the most transformative qualities that we as human have the opportunity to express. For this is God's will, meaning not some man in the sky saying, I will this for you, but knowing that that one omniscient, ever-present, infinite power that exists within us, its nature is to give of itself. That's the will of God, if you will. But the only way it can do that is through us. And the most effective way for us to experience its wonderful qualities is the Christ Jesus within us. In other words, not a man who was hung on a cross somewhere out in wherever it was that it happened, but the concept of the Christ that exists us, that was exemplified by Jesus himself. Meaning a life of forgiveness, a life of giving, a life of knowing that within us there is pureness, there's wholeness, there's completeness, and there's the allness of God. And by tending to that alone, you and I will be using this power, this law of life, more effectively and more effectively, more effectively in life, meaning that we'll get to reap the benefits of those actions, and our life will be blissful, and more blissful, and more blissful. Bliss is what it's all about. Would you not agree? Great. Well, I plan to have some today. I hope you do as well. Thank you. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. All right, welcome back. Happy to have you back. All righty, we'll turn over to the Bima.
Sing along.
Sometimes in our lives
brother when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on me. When you're not strong and I'll be your friend, I'll help you carry on. For it won't be long, for I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. I'm right up the road. I'll share your load if you just call me. Oh, I'm right up the road. You can come to me, and I'm gonna listen to you. If you need a friend, if you need a friend, you can call me. Call out my name. Come on over and I'll be your friend. Come visit with me. You can call me. Call me if you need a friend.
I feel you, baby. I was grooving in the back. I got it. Uh-huh. That feel good? Good. Was gravity working a little too hard on you there? Good. Alrighty, so this is our opportunity, boom chicka, right? This is our opportunity to give of your financial good. If I can have our ushers come forward, please. This is the time in our service where we receive your conscious giving. As a 501c3 status, we live by means of the donations that come our way, and we're appreciative for each and every one of them. Your opportunities to give are, as our ushers come by, through cash or check to them. If you would like a record of that, there's envelopes in the back you can get in, and or you can go on our website if you're watching online or want to do this on your handheld device. It's csl-la.org. Click on home and donate. If you would like to do it by means of our app, you can go to our app, which is CSLLA, and we've just moved that donate button right up front and top, so you can have that. That's how I did that this morning. Or see Reverend Edward in the back, and he will take your credit card. So that's how we have our opportunity to do it. So take your donation, that what you're giving, and place close to your heart if you feel so compelled to do so. The reason we put it close to our heart is because heart's the symbol of love, and we give with love, reflecting the nature of the universe. And repeat after me, please. Conscious giving heals all fear. Conscious giving heals all fear. It awakens and enlivens my awareness. That I am one with an abundant universe. So I give with love. And know. And know that I know. And know that I know that I know that I know. When I use it consciously and give with love and stretch just a itty bitty bit, it absolutely returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. Thank you.
'Tis the gift to be simple, 'tis the gift to be free, 'tis the gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, it will be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend, we shan't be ashamed.
Shan't.
To turn,
We shan't.
turn will be our delight, till by turning, we come round right.
I commit to using shot 3 times this week. How about you? Let's sing happy birthday to Sandy. So we don't do this often, but today I feel compelled to do it. And it's sing that beautiful song to people when they have their birthday. Our beloved board member, Sandy Rivetta, it's her birthday today. So Sandy, would you stand, please? She goes, hell no. She's a theater girl. All right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. I'm going to get sworn at later for that. All right, so, my birthday was 2 weeks ago. So, but thank you. I appreciate that. Yep, I'm happy to have had it. All right, so announcements I am. So, if you are not receiving our e-newsletter and would like to do so, please fill this out at the welcome table with Reverend Edward, and he will turn that over to me and we'll get you on the list. There's one key component to this. Well, there's 2 for you. One is you print it legibly. That's important so that we can read it. And the other is when it comes to your email, check your spam or junk folder. All right? One of our congregants has put a stack of Creative Thoughts and Science of Mind magazines out at the consumable table outdoors. They're yours for the taking. Take one and enjoy it. If you're not familiar, Creative Thought is a magazine that was published for many years through one of our parent organizations called Religious Science International. It has great articles in it, and it has a daily spiritual mind treatment, which is the form of prayer that we use here in this teaching. So feel free to take that and use it. Don't get caught up if you use the prayer on Thursday, November the 11th, and it is Wednesday, February 5th. The one mind really doesn't know that you're looking at this book. So there's that in Science of Mind magazines. I shared with you already that we've made a movement of the donate button on our app. Also, for tax purposes, we have mailed out to everyone in the last year that made donations of $250 or more, your donation report and a letter for the IRS. So you should have gotten that already. If you didn't and you want that or need that, check in with me and we can arrange that for you. And also, if you gave less than that amount and didn't get it and you'd like something, also feel free to reach out to me. Wednesday morning continues our Wednesday morning guided meditation at 8 a.m. As I shared in class the other night, I've been saying for a while I can't find the recordings of the past ones. Well, I found them. So we will be publishing those somewhere, but please join us. If you can carve out 30 minutes every day, Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. The link is on our website. The link is on the Tuesday newsletter, and it's really a fantastic way to center yourself in the middle of the week and stimulate your creative abilities and mind. Class continues this Wednesday night. The class is called Practical Mysticism. It's a 10-week class. It's going really deep into the creative abilities of your mind, of looking at this philosophy and this teaching from a whole different perspective. It's really processing for you how you live life from a place of oneness, and it's just overall, I would say, really stimulating. Those of you in class, would you agree with that? It's deep and it's dense and it's stimulating. If you want to try it for one class, come check us out. I give out a handout every week that is way worth more than the $22 it costs to take the class. They're really fantastic handouts that have all kinds of quotes on them and pictures and exercises, and it really takes you on this journey of enlightening and awakening the mystic within. Who likes to move? Now, I know you haven't proved it this morning, but who likes to shake their groove thing? Well, there's a dance class every Friday at 11:30 at the Hollywood Dance Center. It's a jazz class taught by Walter Painter and his wife Charlene. It's a lot of fun. It's about tapping into the spirit of dance. Get it? Spirit, church, spirit of dance. And it's a lot of fun. So you run somewhere between an hour and not quite 90 minutes, but it's a great, great, great class. And it's stretching and kicking and dancing and really a lot of fun. Join us. It's $15. A huge thank you this morning. Will you be there, Andy? That's not jazz, though. It's a jazz class. I would ask our birthday girl, well, Ted, or I'm just going to move on. All right, so a huge thank you to all of you for being here this morning. Happy you're here, and I know that you're happy you're here as well. A huge thank you to our board member on duty today, which is Sandy Rivetta. Sing happy birthday to her as you walk up to her if you have any constructive criticism or questions that you may have. A big thank you to Reverend Edward for our pre-service this morning and illuminating our candles, as well as a big thank you to Reverend Lenore for illuminating those candles. Thank you to our sound guys, Bob and Jesus in the back and set up. A big thank you to Erwin, who's peeking through the door right now. So now he turns and walks away. To Erwin and Rolando. And I think that's it. There are flour products for you to chew on out there, as well as caffeine for you to consume and water. The flour products are extra special today. I picked them up for you from a Ukrainian bakery. So, so know that that's it. A big thank you to our musicians. So Guy, Pete, Andy. And especially to the one and only Janice Anderson. Thank you. If you have any interest in consuming their music in another way, connect with them and they'll be happy to tell you what that will look like. Let's close with a spiritual mind treatment. So we close and anchor today into our psyche and our soul and our being. An awakened awareness that there's only one activity ever taking place. That's the activity of the divine. And so today we open our mind and our heart and our soul and our being to be receptive to knowing the spiritual truth in a new way. We let today be the day that we choose to use the power of the divine in a more conscious way than ever before. We covenant and commit together today that as we move forward, that what is reflecting from us is life experiences that show that we are doing our part to be an evolved consciousness in action. Today is the day that we choose to release any need for hallucinatory experiences or actions or thoughts in life. And we get real with ourselves. Choosing forgiveness if need be. Choosing oneness always. And living a life based in love. We cherish the opportunity to love each other, to be loved, and to grow and to know and to flow in and as spirit. The only thing that exists, God. We say thank you for this opportunity And let it be by saying together, and so it is. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Enjoy our closing music, and we'll see you outside. Thank you.